What's happening, everybody? Trey here, and today, reactions to the classics. It's time for another top 10 list. This one is sure to spark some debate, but it's going to be a very, very fun one. It's going to be top 10 live albums, and this is coming today courtesy of a suggestion from our patron Gerard. Gerard provided this list and some great write-ups along with his selections. So I think this is going to be one where you just kind of kick back. You're going to learn some stuff today. I know I did with his write-ups and just the research we did, and just going to enjoy some of the best performers in music history putting in the work here. So I'm excited for this. Thank you, Gerard, for bringing this one. And if you like this video, y'all, before we get into it, be sure to hit that big thumbs up and big red subscribe button. And if you'd like to have us maybe do a top 10 list here or a song reaction or support the channel in any way, like my guy Gerard, you can check out our Patreon page and be sure to link up with us on Facebook. Got a great group of music lovers there, as well as our live streams on Twitch. Follow us there as well. But all that to say, let's just get into this. Gerard noted that this is going to be representing, one song from each album, going down from 10 to 1. Here's what he had to say when coming up with this list. Of all the top 10s that I've submitted and indeed will submit in the future, this I know will be the most controversial and subject to spirited disagreement. I'm supremely confident that 0 people will agree with my top 10 favorite live albums. The great thing about music is that it hits everyone differently. A certain song or group touches a nerve with one person and has completely no effect on someone else. Maybe it's the moment in time you heard it, or it reminds you of your parents, or many different reasons combine to make certain records and music mean so much to people, and why for me it is the greatest art form of all, because a deep love of music is outside rationale and consciousness or even understanding. It has to be felt. Man, Gerard, just gonna pod you there. I think that is such a great point, man. What did Zappa say? Like, writing about music is trying to do something with architecture. I'm butchering the quote, but he had a very awesome Frank Zappa way of saying that at the end of the day, music has to be felt kind of in our hearts, and it can't be fully articulated out. I think you make a great point there. Gerard continues, the live album is a particular beast. For some bands, the live album is their greatest release. For other great artists, they never put out a live album worth listening to, and many don't release one at all, at least officially. There are plenty of bootlegs out there, and nowadays with YouTube in particular, entire live shows are uploaded, but this list focuses on officially recorded and released live albums. For me, there are a number of characteristics that go into making a great live record, and they don't always overlap. 1. Some of the albums on this list capture bands who are always much better live than they could capture in studio. The alchemy that a band creates when on stage for whatever reason is not quite captured in the studio. The energy the crowd gives the band and vice versa, the adrenaline from being under the lights night after night honing the songs, produces a standard of performances that they don't achieve in studio. That is a great point. 2. Another aspect is that some bands put a lot of thought and effort into creating a performance, both audio and visual, that is more akin to a theater performance than just rambling on stage, plugging in and playing. Many of these overly produced productions obscure the music and focus less on the music than the visual performance, but the ones that get it right truly accentuate the music and become a fully rounded artistic performance that balances the music with the visual. To be included on this list, the musical performance must stand up on its own terms, and the visual/choreographed aspect of the performance accentuates the music. 3. Another critical aspect to a great live album is when in the band's/artist's career they were recorded and released. Quite simply, the best live records are recorded during the periods when the artists are also releasing their best studio input. Another great point there. Of course, for many artists, their productive period lasts many years, decades even, but many live records are put out as essentially another form of greatest hits collection long after the band or artist has become a heritage act. All but one of the albums on this list were recorded and released when the artist was still a productive, creative force putting out acclaimed, relevant records. The most important aspect of a live album when it's all said and done is this: doesn't make you wish you were at the gig. Whatever the differences of opinion that the list provokes, I would be very surprised if anybody who truly loves music could say they wouldn't have wanted to have been at any of these gigs. I know there are many great live albums that are not included on this list. I could certainly name many of the albums that will be mentioned in the comments. Ultimately, this list is personal to the live records and performances that I love the most. Well, good write-up there, Gerard, and it is indeed your top 10 list, so I'm glad you made it personal to you. let's get into this, y'all. As always, I'm going to be having the lyrics pulled up for all these tracks, and the music will not be in the YouTube video, but there's going to be a link down below where you can check out everything with the music involved. Shout out again to the patrons for allowing us to have the capital to pay for the server space on that other site. But anyways, we're going to start it off with one of my favorite groups, a group that's near and dear to my heart, one of my favorite live records ever, so I'm glad it's on the list. We have Nirvana's MTV Unplugged from 1994, and we're going with the song "The Man Who Sold the World," one of my favorites off of this collection. So you're starting it off, at least with me, Gerard, on a good note. Gerard noted, the MTV Unplugged series now stands as a reminder that the M in MTV stands for music. You certainly wouldn't know it nowadays. Ain't that the truth, Gerard? The albums released under this series were very hit and miss depending on the artist. Honorable mention here goes to Eric Clapton, who shows, just like with the Nirvana record, justified the Unplugged idea by taking an artist out of their regular style or genre and showed the versatility and true brilliance of the artist. When done right, the MTV Unplugged album really presented the artist in a completely different light, and that is certainly true for this record. It's hard to remember now given how ubiquitous this performance has become since it was initially shown and released, but this performance was a genuine revelation. Nirvana, the band that was always plugged in and turned up to 11, here were mellow, almost vulnerable, showing their true craft. Visuals of this performance were also great. The candles, the carpets, the cardigans. This particular song, of course, a cover of David Bowie, is for me the highlight on the record. Cobain's voice retains the razor distortion, but adds a level of vulnerability that only could be highlighted in an acoustic setting. And then just from our research here, this was recorded Sony Music Studios in New York City, November 18th, 1993. In a break with MTV Unplugged convention, Nirvana played mainly lesser-known material and covers by groups like, of course, Bowie, the Vaselines, Leadbelly, and Meat Puppets, who was a big inspiration on Cobain. It was the first Nirvana release released after Cobain's death. It debuted at number 1, won the Best Alternative Music Performance at the Grammys. That was Nirvana's only Grammy Award win, actually. The day before filming, Cobain refused to play, but he appeared at the studio the following afternoon, suffering from drug withdrawal and nervousness. People were a little nervous how the performance would go, but hey, it went off without a hitch, really. And interestingly enough, Cobain insisted on running his acoustic guitar through his amplifier and effects pedal, and you can obviously hear that on this track in particular. And yeah, so what a wonderful write-up, and I'm really big fan of this tune. So let's get started off. Let's have Cobain and the boys from Nirvana get this list popping. This is one where I think Kurt did a good job choosing this, because he does kind of sound at like a young Bowie at certain points in this track, just kind of with his yearning that's going forth in it. And the storytelling in this track that Bowie originally penned, I think stands as a good track to cover as well. That concept of kind of passing, I always have interpreted it, and I'd like to hear your thoughts in the comments, y'all, as kind of a guy. He's not actually passing a real life friend, but almost his former self. Just we passed upon the stairs, we spoke of was and when. Although I wasn't there, he said I was his friend, which came as a surprise. I spoke into his eyes. I thought you died alone a long time ago. I always interpret that as his former self before he kind of sold his soul, sold whatever was left of him for whatever the case may be, for his individual self, whether it was for fame, for money, for fortune, whatever the case may be. But I like the fact it says we never lost control. You're face to face with the man who sold the world. So it's not like he just went into like some crazed state and lost himself or whatnot. He knew what he was doing the whole time, and maybe that's a worse worse at the end of the day, because he knew what he was doing whenever he was going and selling himself out. It is interesting here as well, just with the Nirvana story. Kurt probably thought, I think at certain points deep down, especially coming kind of from that punky influences. You never want to sell out as a punk band, this or that. And then whenever you become the face of the whole grunge movement and really of music in 91, 92, 93, it probably kind of with his artistry kind of made him wrestle with that. So I think covering this was a great decision. Great bass work in here as well. That's something I hadn't really honed in on previous listens, and I enjoy the guitar solo at the end. It fits that dreariness that I think Nirvana's known for, and kind of what the song brings forth. So now we're going to go to number 9. Going to hide the Spotify bar here because we're going to head over to YouTube because it's the Red Hot Chili Peppers live at Slane Castle with the song By the Way. Gerard notes this selection falls under the category of very personal, largely because I was at the concert. Look at that. That is tight. Also, it's not an album but a DVD release at the time, but I included it as with the Chili Peppers. The live show is a very visual experience anyway, as is the Slane experience. Slane Castle in Ireland has held concerts as a one-day outdoor festival since 1981. The very first concert was headlined by Thin Lizzy with a young up-and-coming group called U2 opening the show down the bill. Subsequent headliners have included the Rolling Stones, Queen, Bowie, Springsteen, U2, REM, Oasis. Very much a rock and roll experience. I have somehow never heard of this one-day festival, but once hopefully COVID passes, maybe I can make my way over there with all my Irish buddies that I made on the channel. What makes a Slane gig special is the setting. The grounds of the castle forms a natural amphitheater sloping down to the River Boyne, flowing behind the stage with trees lining the river, forming a natural background to the stage, and the castle on the hill providing a majestic setting. I'm already getting hyped to watch this. The concerts normally take place in August, so the headline acts arrive on stage as the Irish summer daylight stretches into the evening, and the show progresses into moonlight darkness, lit up by the pyrotechnics of the stage and culminating in a fireworks display as the crowd make their way home from the venue in miles of coaches to take them the length and breadth of the country home. The Red Hot Chili Peppers headlined Slane Castle in between the release of the albums Californication and By the Way, the two albums that brought a renaissance to the band in the early 2000s and brought them to a younger audience and spanned a number of hits that were perfectly set to entertain 80,000 Irish people in the summer sun after an afternoon of Guinness and sunshine. This performance of By the Way shows the Chili Peppers at their energetic best. Chad Flea really gel well together, and Anthony Kiedis is the perfect front man. Not the greatest singer, but an absolute performer. Well said, Gerard. Let's enjoy this one. Wow, Red Hot Chili Peppers bringing it in Ireland right there. Wow, just stating the obvious, the setting there was just so gorgeous as you were hyping up, Gerard, in the write-up previously. The beautiful scenery, the trees in the background, sun was kind of setting there. And Red Hot Chili Peppers, man, they brought it. Great cinematography as well. As you mentioned, it was released as a DVD. So they were doing a lot of cool things kind of with the band and different camera angles and stuff like that. And it just seemed like such a fun time. The crowd was enjoying themselves. That's one of the things. There's not much more powerful in this life, man, whenever you get 80,000 people together who all enjoyed the same type of music, singing the songs, and I can only imagine what a trip that would be to be up there. I mean, that is quite wild. You know, four dudes up there, and not just Red Hot Chili Peppers, but all the great groups and acts throughout the years that have been able to draw tens of thousands of people. I could only imagine what an adrenaline rush that would be, and how exciting and humbling that would be to have all these people come to listen and see you perform something that you created. And that I hadn't heard that song in a long time, so kind of being reintroduced to it in this type of setting with that energy going was awesome. Flea rocking the skeleton suit as well. That was cool. I listened to a podcast recently that had Flea on there. Very intelligent guy with quite the background story as well. So shout out to Red Hot Chili Peppers on that. And who knows if we might have seen Gerard out there if he was in the concert and we just didn't know it. But now we're gonna go to number 8. A definite contrast in style here. We're going to go to get our folk on with Arlo Guthrie and the Motorcycle song. Gerard said Arlo Guthrie, son of the great American songwriter Woody Guthrie, certainly began his musical career under the long shadow of his father, and in many ways is still under that shadow. He performs at least the great song This Land Is Your Land at every show and works hard to keep his father's legacy alive and well. He also interprets and performs great American folk songs such as The City of New Orleans and St. James Infirmary. He is also a fine songwriter in his own right. Alice's Restaurant was a fairly big hit back in the 60s, and he did perform at Woodstock, which didn't let just anyone perform. What merits the perhaps surprise inclusions of Arlo on this list is that he's a great performer and storyteller. In fact, he's hilarious. I've seen him live a number of times, and he only told the stories in between the songs, it would have been worth the price of admission alone. He's very good acoustic guitar player and really picks rather than strums the guitar, so there was a good arrangement in the performances. This selection from the Live in Sydney album is an extreme example of his blending of storytelling and singing. Awesome. Well, get the lyrics pulled up here. Motorcycle song. It's about 7 minutes long, which I know the original version is not nearly like that, so I'm curious to see what stories Arlo has to tell us here. The motorcycle song, Arlo Guthrie coming in. Man, what an entertaining 7 minutes. I mean, I don't even know how long he was playing the song. It couldn't have been longer than a minute and a half or whatever interspersed throughout there. But I was hanging on the dude's every word. Gerard, you said it well, that he is a able to just weave the song with the storytelling. I thought was great. I don't know much about Arlo, so it was a nice way to kind of get introduced to where he was from, talking about the only place that would take him was a college in Montana. He flunked out, went over to all the military bases, and was like, you know what, guys, I'm really not worth this much trouble. And then just noted he was going 150 on his motorcycle, had his guitar in one hand, and then the motorcycle in the other. Guitar string broke going over the cliff, and then humorously says he saw these words up in the clouds: I don't want to pickle, I just want to ride on my motorcycle. And then it kind of came full circle at the end, which I thought was great, how he says, I don't know how I would go into the coffee houses back in the day, just with my guitar to get in for free. And whenever somebody would get sick, I would perform this, and people would be like, man, we paid for that. But nowadays, they have people and students studying these lyrics. So, hey, who's the real winner, right, Arlo? That was really fun, and just a great storytelling experience. I can see why Gerard said that the stories themselves were worth the price of admission alone. Very folky in its roots, and entertaining, almost like a stand-up comedian would be, just kind of telling and weaving the story and circling it all back together. So shout out to Arlo on bringing that at our number 8 spot. Now we're going to number 7, Love the One You're With by the Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin, live at the Fillmore West. Aretha live at the Fillmore, take an American treasure in a legendary musical institution, and surely it results in a match made in heaven. As I understand it, at the time this record was released, opinions were divided on the performance for a number of reasons. The core band used wasn't Aretha's usual backing band, and a lot of the songs were covers of famous white artists rather than Aretha originals or black soul and gospel standards. It has been said that the song and band selection was heavily influenced by her manager, and that the presentation was decided upon to make it as accessible to white America as possible. I'm not really sure how much of that is true or how important it is historically in the context of Aretha's career. Thankfully, with all of the circumstances, a distant and forgotten memory, which remains as a really great live performance. As you would expect, a tight backing band, supreme vocal performance, and guest appearances from Billy Preston, Ray Charles, and others. There are many sides to Aretha. This show is heavily soul and R&B focused due to the song selection and the backing band, but there's still moments when Aretha's gospel influence comes shining to the fore. Every song is a highlight, though I'm not sure the cover of Eleanor Rigby will convert Sean to Beatles covers. The song selected here is Love the One You're With. A Stephen Stills number, Bridge Over Troubled Water, is also a real high point on the record. Brilliant. I'm definitely going to have to give this one a spin. This is actually her third live record as well. Fillmore West is in San Francisco. If you don't know, it's just a really ridiculously famous venue. The Fillmore West, Fillmore East. Some of the best concerts and live CDs ever have been at those venues. So let's let's get some Aretha rocking. Bravo to Aretha coming in here with Love the One You're With. Great variety on this list so far, Gerard. And Aretha kind of took us to church a little bit with that, some gospel influence, especially in the chorus. I thought the backing ladies were fantastic, given a contrast to her lead vocal. Touching, as you would expect from Aretha, touching your soul here. I thought the backing band was excellent, man. What else can you say? Especially that the short mini kind of groove section, rhythm section rather, at the very end with the bass and drums kind of going in. Percussion was very sharp, and you had the horn section in there a little bit, and just a simple message that that Stephen Stills wrote. But coming from Aretha, I think it hits a little harder, noting baby, don't be angry, baby, don't be sad, don't sit back atop thinking about some goods that you had. You can't be thinking of the past and your former love, because there's a boy sitting next to you. Why don't you check him out, see what he wants to get into? Let's go. Just a lovely song, so easy on the ears, and it's tough. It's tough to hear in a Aretha song that you don't at least find something to enjoy, because she got the voice of an angel coming in here with the power of an 18-wheeler as well. One of the best voices, obviously, of all time. With this backing band, I thought they took it up a notch as well. I don't know Stephen Stills' original, but I'll have to go and look at that in addition. But shout out to Aretha there. And now we're going to go to another absolute legend. We got Bob Marley and the Wailers from their live record in 1975 with the classic No Woman, No Cry. Gerard noted, "It is very rare that one individual can be seen to represent an entire genre of music, and I know that reggae has deep roots and is very varied and multifaceted, but to me, and I suspect to many people outside of Jamaica, it will always be symbolized by the great Bob Marley and the Wailers." As great as this performance recorded in London is at the Lyceum, it is almost entirely justified by the awesome recording of No Woman, No Cry. This version has overtaken the studio version as the definitive version of the track, a song which, despite oversaturation and endless murdering by pub bands throughout the world, never loses its potency. In fact, all of side 2 on this recording, including I Shot the Sheriff and Get Up, Stand Up, the ultimate protest song, really helped convey the vibe that Bob Marley created, both in his studio recordings and live, for those lucky enough to see him perform. I do know this version, as Gerard said, it's kind of been taken down as the definitive version of this track, and I really got into Marley for the first time last year, of course, listening to his greatest hits, and after that, man, I was hooked. So let's get into this one. Bob Marley and the Wailers, No Woman, No Cry. Just such a dense song, man. And then as I was kind of mentioning, as the song was playing, I really enjoyed the build-up for a minute or maybe it was a little longer before Bob finally comes in with the chorus. Just 4 words, so simple, and yet it just conveys the powerful, like, hey, no woman, no cry, don't cry about this. And he goes forth in the verses and it explains why. Obviously, instrumentation is just so tight here. I love the Alvin Anderson guitar solo in the middle there. Again, kind of had a hint of just that smooth blues that you would expect, but in that reggae type of style. And so that was tight. The keyboards were just going in the entire time as well. And then Bob's delivery and charisma, you can just feel on there, man. The entire track, kind of going in with the verses. The government yard in Trenchtown is a place that pops up a lot, and talking that they would sit down, observe the hypocrites, the good people there, the good friends they have, the good friends they've lost along the way. In this great future, you can't forget your past. So dry your tears, I say, and then we go into, of course, the iconic No Woman, No Cry. Here, little darling, don't shed no tears, no woman, no cry. People love the Cook cornmeal porridge. That got a big cheer in the crowd. Shout out to the cornmeal porridge. And then again, it just has that innocence of which I'll share with you. My feet is my only carriage, so I've got to push on through. But while I'm good, and then we get the iconic "Everything's gonna be alright." Like this is like a comfort type of song, I think, to go whenever you're feeling down and out and you need some reassurance. Let Bob Marley and the Wailers reassure you here, because everything's gonna be alright. I actually prefer this "Everything's gonna be alright" to the Three Little Birds whenever he uses that phrase. Again, famously, of course, but just what a lovely track. There were a couple times, man, literally you get the goosebumps coming in whenever the chorus and then the "everything's gonna be alright" part hits. Marley, man, absolute legend. I think he's deserving of the praise he gets for sure. And now we're halfway through the list, y'all. What a lot of bangers we've had thus far. I've enjoyed every track, and I think that's going to keep on here as we go to "Burning Down the House" from "Stop Making Sense," the iconic live album by Talking Heads. Gerard noted this album definitely falls into the category of all-around performance, and definitely it should be seen as well as heard, but the record on its own terms merits inclusion on the list as a musical performance is great. The concert film really pushes it to heights of excellence. This was on Amazon Prime a few months back, and I watched it for the first time, and it was, I mean, Burns just got that quirkiness, that charisma, man, that you can't help but but watch him. If you haven't had the chance to see this, even if you're not a Talking Heads fan, I think you'll enjoy it. Gerard further notes the choreography of the entire show, from Byrne walking on stage with a ghetto blaster and acoustically belting out "Psycho Killer" to the gradual introduction of the rest of the band, to the bid suits and the lamplight visuals, to the big soul numbers such as "Take Me to the River." The entire show planned and executed as a musical and artistic masterclass. All the musicians and backing singers are killer. I'd agree with that, man. The band is really tight, but there's enough flexibility maintained in the performance. David Byrne is in many ways the unlikeliest of frontman. He's no Mick Jagger, but he has a charismatic, enigmatic persona which blends that neurotic, anxiety-laden, geeky look with an obvious, confident art college sensibility that both leads the band and also isn't afraid to let his talented fellow musicians shine. Man, that's one of the best write-ups on David Byrne I've ever seen seen written, man. So good on you, Gerard. Our research showed that this record features 9 tracks from the movie, but with some treatment and editing. The album spent over 2 years on the Billboard 200, and it was ranked 345 on Rolling Stone's Top 500 Greatest Albums of All Time. Let's burn down this house, ladies and gentlemen. All right, Talking Heads bringing it with "Burning Down the House." Man, I can picture in my mind Burn up there performing this from the video portion of this song, and the music video itself is a bit wild as well if you've never seen it. But just the highlight here for me instrumentally is the keys, and then that synthesizer solo in the middle. Talking Heads as a whole, I've listened to all their work. Really do a job setting like an atmosphere that's unique to really any other group that I've heard on a regular basis, and do a great job kind of blending in, especially at this point in their career, some of those world music influences to just their more traditional kind of sound that they started off with on Talking Heads 77. They're just able to blend it into a unique sound that only they could, and I mean, I think "Burning Down the House" exemplifies that. It's strange but not a stranger. I'm an ordinary guy burning down the house, like a guy that's maybe in a little bit of trouble. And then as the song progresses, we get kind of closer and closer to that "burning down the house." Hold tight, we're in for nasty weather. There has got to be a way. Burning down the house. Kind of the transportation gets in, like this guy's gonna get up and bolt. Fighting fire with fire. All wet here, you might need a raincoat. Shakedown dreams, walking in a broad daylight. 365 degrees. burning down the house. It's getting hot in the house, ladies and gentlemen. And then yeah, we had the tight little synthesizer solo. And then now he told us at the start he's just an ordinary guy. Now in verse 4, my house is out of the ordinary. That's right. Don't want to hurt nobody. Some things sure can sweep me off my feet, burning down the house. And then you kind of blend in the I don't know what you expect staring into the TV set as kind of one of our last lines in that last chorus there. Also really enjoy This Must Be the Place from this performance as well. That's probably my favorite track off of Stop Making Sense, but Burning Down the House is a cool tune in its own right as well. So glad that was on here, Gerard. And now we're going to go to a classic that I somehow have not listened to yet. We got the band, The Last Waltz, 1978. We're going to be rocking with Ophelia here. Gerard noted in many ways this must be the greatest live album just by the sheer amount of talent gathered together in one performance. You got Bob Dylan, Joni Mitchell, Neil Young, Van Morrison. There are more famous faces in this performance than on the cover of Sgt. Pepper. There are so many great songs and performances on this record, mixing the great artist's own songs with the band's own great songs, and of course a whole side of great Bob Dylan songs culminating in the group performance of I Shall Be Released, which is fantastic. In many ways, the band were the ideal band to bring all those other artists together in one such performance, and their own songs and playing is strong enough to mix the songs of great artists with their own without much variation in style or quality, and yet the performances are varied enough to make such a long record interesting from start to finish. This went to 16 on the Billboard 200. A triple album documents the band's farewell concert, which took place at Bill Graham's Winterland Ballroom on Thanksgiving Day 1976. The event included an actual Thanksgiving dinner for 5,000 attendees. Dang, that's a lot of food out there, man. A lot of turkeys had to die that day. With ballroom dancing and a stage set for La Traviata, borrowed from the San Francisco Opera. I did not know those additional facts until we researched it, so I thought that was just unique to know. The band bringing it with Ophelia. Wow, what a track. We, if you're a big fan of the band, we actually reviewed a couple of their records, including this one, Northern Lights, Southern Cross, where the Ophelia originally comes off of. I always enjoy this track because it kind of paints Ophelia as like a very enigmatic individual and character, a very mysterious kind of going in. We never really get the answer. We start off, boards on the window, mail by the door. What would anybody leave so quickly for? Ophelia, where have you gone? Then he, continues that in the chorus. Was it something that somebody said? Mama, I know we broke the rules. Was somebody up against the law? Honey, you know I die for you. Why do all the best things disappear like Ophelia? Please darken my door. So it's, getting this man in his feelings. Robbie Robertson, a very strong songwriter, just from the band material that I've listened to, and this one's no different. He knows they got your number, scared and running. So then that makes me think, okay, is something illegal going down? He knows, honey, we broke the rules. But he's still holding out hope for that second coming of Ophelia coming back home. Instrumentation is just ridiculous. The band are, I think, one of the best bands ever at being able to just mesh together so well with each other and have everything be so seamless. Danko, Garth Hudson, Richard Manuel, Robbie Robertson, Levon Helm, man, 5 guys that could be very versatile. And, it seemed, okay, we want to let the drums go in. We'll let that happen. If we need to call on a great guitar solo like we had in this one, we have the ability to do that. If, we want a nice bass line and want that to be a highlight of the track, we can do that as well. So the band killing it, and I need to definitely get on The Last Waltz in full because this track was great. I really like the studio version, but I think this concert version takes it up a notch just with that energy. This is one you wish you were in the crowd for. And now we're going to go to Van the Man Morrison at number 3, St. Dominic's Preview. This is from It's Too Late to Stop Now, 1974. Gerard noted that Van Morrison is a mercurial talent as a musician, both in the studio and on the boards. He almost never engages with the audience. It has been said that he once smiled in 1974, but nobody was around to witness it, so we're not entirely sure. He's been known to walk off stage if unhappy, to give the road crew a look that could kill a man at 10 paces if the guitar isn't tuned right. The sets can often be extremely short, and if he does an encore, he usually leaves the stage and is in the car to the airport before the last song is finished. But on the right night, when he is in the right form and the band is tight, and when he's really feeling it, on those nights, a truly musical magic is in the air, and everyone from the audience and the band to Van the man himself are all in the same vibe feeling it too. I've seen Van 8 times in the biggest of venues and in small intimate clubs and theaters. I've seen him mostly at his best and a couple times at his worst. I take 100 gigs of his worst for just one night of his best. But I know not everybody feels the same way about Van. This recording definitely captures him in great form with a great backing band in the form of the Caledonia Soul Orchestra. Released in 74 and recorded from gigs in 73, it finds Van when he was still singing at a higher register and in a wild and free expressive style, both in the backing musician style and his own vocal performances. The tracks cover a lot of his great hits from the Moondance album and subsequent albums, and some covers. Backing band includes a mix of strings and brass knitted together with a tight rhythm section, including an organ prominent on many of the tunes. The set list includes slow bluesy numbers, hot steamy R&B tracks, and soul led and conducted by the finest blue-eyed soul man in the business. This song here in particularly perfectly exhibits the qualities of the record's great vocal performance, from a gentle opening floating over the backing group, building to a crescendo finish, finally backed and lifted by the band. On nights like this, Van was and still is the man. Sometimes one single line can elevate a song beyond its own greatness, and for me, the line, quote, "Everybody feels so determined not to feel anyone else's pain," is such a line. Woo! What a freaking ride up there. Man. Big time. And from our research, unlike most live rock albums, there was no studio overdubbing allowed by Morrison, which resulted in the exclusion of Moondance from the album due to one wrong guitar note. Van, definitely a perfectionist. Morrison strictly adhered to his concept of authenticity in presenting the live performance, but his musical perfectionism prevented him from including Moondance. It is thought to be one of the first live albums with no overdubs, and the first live album to have string players. So just a couple of little tidbits there for y'all. So let's get into Van the Man. St. Dominic's Preview coming in by Van Morrison here. Man, starting instrumentally, I loved how everything again kind of got their chance to shine here. We had the violin and the pretty string arrangement coming in at certain points. Of course, the horn section had a definite chance to shine as well. And I thought that Van's vocal was pretty solid and strong in its own right. Definitely liked the way he delivered some of these lines, not only in the chorus, the way he stretched out the St. Dominic's Preview. I thought that was just a very catchy kind of vocal melody there. And the storytelling itself was really descriptive, conjured up great images, and just made you kind of appreciate where Van was coming from, talking about himself cleaning all the windows and across the street from Cathedral Notre Dame, and then going through talking about San Francisco. We're trying hard to make the whole thing blend as we sit upon this jagged story block with you, my friend, name dropping Buffalo, Belfast, and I'm hoping the joist won't blow the hoist, because this time they're a bit off more than they can chew. They bit off more than they can chew. He kind of goes, I think, talking about, then name drops Hank Williams in there as well. Kind of just, I think, getting to the fact he's going around trying to make a name for himself, this and that. No one's making no commitments to anybody but themselves. Another great line, in addition to the line you already know to Gerard, and everybody feels so determined not to feel anyone else's pain. kind of just focused on themselves at this juncture, trying to make it in this world. And then we get to the final verse where you note that the restaurant tables are covered, the record company's there, they're paying for the wine, this or that. You got everything in the world you ever wanted. Right about now, your face should wear a smile. That tells me that it's not, though. So not everything is as it seems. And you've got your pen and notebook ready. I think it's about time for us to begin. Time to sign on that dotted line. He's over there. Then they're socializing in a 52nd Street apartment, and talking about socializing with the White Hope view, just to be hip and get wet with the jet set, but they're flying too high to see my point of view. So I think Van, kind of noting in this song, he's risen from humble beginnings, and he's still, I think, trying to keep that humility and not to get kind of sucked into the music industry way of life. So really solid tune here coming in at number 3. Just love that instrumentation. And now we're going to go to Walk on Hot Coals from Rory Gallagher, a gentleman we've done a top 10 list for, one of I think Ireland's best exports musically that they've had. We're going to be doing the song Walk on Hot Coals. Strap in, ladies and gentlemen. 11 and a half minutes long from Irish Tour 74. Rory released 3 major live records during his lifetime. Gerard notes live in Europe, this record, and then Stage Struck. Each album had completely different track listings from the most recent material he had released. The point being that the material he played live was always fresh and rarely reverted to a greatest hits / stable old reliable set list, and his most devoted audiences always went with him. This Irish Tour 74 was both an album and a tour documentary / concert film that followed him on his annual tour around Ireland. The film is an interesting record on his touring life, his thoughts on life, music, and the road, and scenes of the pandemonium at his gigs. One interesting thing from watching the film, given the style of music he was playing, which was pure blues, is how young the audiences are at the gigs. They were all fresh-faced teenagers who should be listening to pop music and boy bands, but they were there going absolutely mad for Rory's full-force blues attack. The album largely draws from the most recently released studio album Tattoo, which had great songs Tattooed Lady, which was on that top 10 list, A Million Miles Away, Cradle Rock, and some cover songs. This album demonstrates that Rory was in his natural element when on the stage, and on those boards he was peerless. And how he engaged and entranced the crowd, how he shook it up and improvised and constantly kept it fresh night after night, how tight his fellow musicians were. This was the real deal, and this album captures that perfectly. A little research we found compiled from performances during Gallagher's Irish Tour in January 74. The source concerts were recorded at the Belfast Ulster Hall, Dublin Carlton Cinema, and the Cork City Hall using Ronnie Lane's mobile studio. So big time. This has sold over 2 million copies worldwide. Shout out to Rory here. I'm just expecting some just absolute killer guitar solos in this. Let's get it. Walk on Hot Coals coming in at number 2 from the great Rory Gallagher. One of my favorite discoveries we made last year on this channel was Rory. And a song like this is evidence of why. Just a masterclass and the guitar, obviously, and especially towards the end, the lyrics stopped around 5 minutes in or so, and then Rory was just able to dip in and out of a bunch of different styles there, from the bluesy to just making those really sharp notes. I'm not a guitar player, y'all. If you're a guitar player, I'm sure you can enunciate and articulate what all the different stuff he was doing. As a fan, though, I just know that I really loved what I was hearing, and that I was hanging on every note, wondering where Rory was going to take me next in this master levels or doctorate level guitar course that it seemed that he was showcasing out here. And as for the song itself, lyrics, I thought it was a cool little story as well, man. This poor guy, he lost his shirt in a card game. That game was rigged because the deck was marked. He lost his job on the weekend. He's back on the streets. He doesn't have a way to get $1, but he's going to go out gambling. He went to the roulette wheel. He's got his little girl beside him because no matter what else fails, he's spinning on the racetrack. His horse, though, unfortunately, it was almost about to win, and then the mare was dropped. A Link to Win, she fell down to her knees. He's throwing away all his, lucky charms and whatnot, the rabbit's foot, gypsy ring, lucky penny. He's recognizes, I'm on a losing streak, I might not win. We've all been there, I think, in our lives, man. But hey, at the end of the day, he still got his little girl beside him, no matter what else fails. While I walk on hot coals, sleep on a bed of nails, walk on thin ice, skate on razor blades. Got my little girl beside me, no matter what else fails. Cool little message on top of just the absolute killer guitar work. And shout out Lou Martin playing that RMI Electro piano. I had to look that up during the song. I was all like, dude, the keyboard was absolutely going in and just playing off of Rory's guitar so expertly. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time. Drum roll, number one live album, according to our guy Gerard, who has, in my estimation, done a really bang-up job on this list. And we're going to another of a group from Ireland, Thin Lizzy, another group we did a top 10 list for. It's going to be their song Emerald from the Live and Dangerous record from 1978. Gerard knows Live and Dangerous, great title for a great, great album, recorded at the height of the Robertson Gorham era of Thin Lizzy lineup and full to the brim of their biggest hits. This is the perfect example of a live album capturing a band that belonged on the stage at the height of their powers. A perfect set list filled with hard rockers, funky riffs, melodic power rock, and soaring ballads. Phil Lynotte's full of charm and charisma conducting the crowd. You got Bravo and Scott dueling on the guitars, and the man at the back, Brian Downey, on drums, providing a pulsating percussive engine. Tony Visconti, a famous producer for everybody from Bowie to Lou Reed, produced this album in between producing the Thin Lizzy studio albums Bad Reputation and Black Rose. There's been a big dispute between Visconti and the band as to how much of the album was overdubbed in the studio and how much was captured live. I believe that the evidence lies in the live albums and the DVDs that have been released since then from the same period. Without any overdubs at all, these albums and DVDs exhibit the same quality of performance. It may be the case that the odd bum note was adjusted in the final mix of this record, but there is no doubt that this album represents accurately the live brilliance of Ireland's greatest band. It actually charted at number 2 and was only denied the top spot in the UK from the movie soundtrack to Grease. Thank you, John Travolta. So, man, come on. The Grease soundtrack, keeping this out. We'll deal with that later. But let's get into Emerald here. I don't believe I'm familiar with this one. So excited to hear it. And then I'll give my favorite tracks at the end. And dang, what a rockin' and rolling way for us to end out our list. Gosh, that guitar lead coming off of Rory's previous tune, then Lizzy kept it rolling for us here on the great guitar leads. The dual guitars playing off each other were so awesome, and this really had an epic feel to it, just with how kind of fast paced and kind of propulsive the whole track was. Phil coming in on fire here. Just even the first verse, down from the glen came the marching men with their shields and their swords to fight the fight they believe to be right, overthrow the overlords. Like, just putting that in there, I'm already thinking like, I'm ready to go, man. Like, give me the sword. I'm I'm ready to take up the arms whenever you play this, man. It gets the heart racing, gets your head banging. This is one where you just know a Thin Lizzy concert would have just been an absolute treat to go to and a just awesome time. So that kind of spirit is through the rest of the lyrics and the entire song, and then the last couple minutes they just let the guitars just screech and just go in, man. And gosh, what a track. And I added another live album that I need to get to listening to in my spare time. Then Lizzy's definitely coming towards the front of the line after that one. And I guess, y'all, that'll take us now to my favorite tracks. I gotta say, there wasn't a track on here I disliked, and this is one of the stronger top tens that I've done recently. I think that there was a wide range of genres, styles, and just different ways that I was impressed throughout this list, whether it was the screeching guitar playing from Rory and Thin Lizzy, there was the beautiful voice of Aretha, the pure emotion of Bob Marley, the kind of just tight instrumentation of the band, the funny story interplay with Arlo Guthrie. But my three are going to be No Woman, No Cry, Emerald by Thin Lizzy, and I Gotta Go Walk on Hot Coals as well. And honorable mention to pretty much every other song on this list. For me, you could definitely convince me of a lot of different favorites here, but I'll limit myself to just those three. Let me know your favorites from this list down below. Let me know your favorite live records in general. I know there will be some Who fans and Rolling Stones with the Get Your Ya-Ya's out that might be a little up in arms, but hey man, you can only choose 10. It's tough to know what to cut. And I think Gerard, I want to shout you out, man. Be sure to give Gerard some love in the comments below. You did an excellent job, my friend, conducting and submitting this list, and great write-ups as well. Great write-ups. That makes our job easier here on our end whenever somebody's so passionate and is able to bring that and convey that in their own words. So thank you again to Gerard, and thank you all for watching this one. It was a fun journey, and until next time, y'all, happy listening, and I will see you.